Alrighty, it looks like I am live, audio and all. Let me just try and get this thing to focus on my face. Hello, world. I hope that it sticks there. But anyway, welcome to the live stream. I am back again. I'm just trying to monitor here if this thing is still in focus. I think I just might have to get out of focus, but there we go. I hope it comes back again. Uh, Welcome back to the Do Better UX live streams, and yeah, I am back. I have been away doing quite a lot of client work uh, and other things in the pipeline, and that has taken a lot of priority, obviously, over the channel and the podcast. And I think you have seen quite the hit that has come from that. Uh, it's either you really missed me, or maybe you probably don't care, like the rest of the world, right? But hopefully you do to some extent. Today is going to be a little bit of a different one. I really want to chill here, talk about a couple of things, a bunch of things that are happening in the tech world, what is happening with Do Better UX and what to expect going forth, etc., etc. Right? So that's really the purpose of this whole thing, and I hope that the stream holds up. I hope that the audio is good enough, and yeah, let me know in the comment section if things are going honky dory. I think the um, face tracking is really letting me off here, and it's kind of annoying me because I can see that everything is focused on this here iPad. Okay, maybe let me put the iPad on the desk, right? Maybe that might help, right? So with the iPad on the desk, I think we have a little bit more of kind of like focus, right, on my screen, on my face rather. I want to talk about a bunch of things today, but maybe before I do that, let me uh, grab my charger quickly in the background, and I'll be right back. Bit of jitters here and there, but I think the stream is looking good. I think we are looking fine. I think I can kind of keep this in the corner here just to monitor chat. Um, if there is anything in the chat, I'll probably transcribe most of this into into a podcast anyway. But I just wanted to kind of like come back, get into the groove again, and kind of give you an update. I know that there is a community. It might not be as big as some of the other design communities out there, but I know that there is quite a bit of following here on the Do Better UX community, and I just wanted to let you know that I just did not disappear, and it's not like we just switched off everything and closed shop. I am still here, as you can see in the flesh. This is proof of life. I have obviously been very busy with a lot of client work. I have been busy with probably, I don't know if I want to talk about this yet, but let me just say some personal projects. If some of the keen-eyed among you might have noticed some changes in my social profiles, etc., etc., which is a hint of some of the project. Well, let me just say a hint of a project that I'm working on that is still in the pipeline. It's not quite ready for me to speak about right now, but I think, yeah, maybe in the next 2 3 weeks, I will be ramping up things and kind of getting ready to speak about those things right before the end of the year. Cool. Um, I'm enjoying a beer today in celebration of the Springboks. We won this past weekend. And I hope that we get the upcoming one. Are you a rugby fan? Are you following rugby wherever you are in the world? Yeah, I'm interested to know what your thoughts are in that world. But let me come back to the discussion of today. So, I think I have covered where I've been, kind of, obviously what has been happening in the background. Um, but I've also been doing quite a bit of changes and tweaks on Do Better UX. I think you have seen the website that we've got our newsletter running now. We've got kind of some posts that have come over probably in periods of 5 weeks separation between each other, which is a long time. I know. We hope to be releasing much more content on that platform going forth. And yeah, there is just a lot more stuff that is in the pipeline that we are getting ready from a Do Better UX point of view. But I wanted to just chat a little bit about some of the experiences and kind of thoughts and insights over the past, probably over the past 3 months, maybe four, um, give and take, right? And there's been a lot of things that I have learned in my career. I think there has been a lot of growth. I have had the opportunity to work with great people. I've had the opportunity to work on really great projects. I've also been misfortunate. I don't know if that's the word. Um, on some of the other projects that I've worked on, right? And these are projects that I would say that I might have burned some bridges, and yeah, I might, not recover from some of the things there. I know I am kind of exposing myself here, right? But yeah, it is what it is, right? And I really want to speak to some of the learnings that I have had over this past period of time, basically the past half of the year. And I think it's mostly the time that I have not been active here. And the first thing that I want to speak about is one big thing that I've noticed is that there's a lot of value when it comes to um, building your personal brand and kind of getting yourself out there, especially if you are in a space like I am in, where you are some sort of a freelancer, contractor, consultant, name it whatever you want. I think it's super important for you to keep on developing your flavor and taking it out there so that people kind of notice you and keep on your network growing, etc., etc. So I think that's super important when it comes to um, growing your personal brand, your network, and just being alive and relevant out there, right? So the reason why I'm talking about this is that I have seen kind of the effect of it, especially not doing these live streams and the podcast. Not necessarily from a client and work perspective, but I think from just an exposure and building my network and having more and more interesting conversations that spark up ideas and gets me in contact with a certain group of people that I wanna associate with in terms of growing my career, growing my personal skills, and those type of things, right? So yeah, I think there's a lot to think about there. I know that not everybody is. I think everybody has got a different flavor of what personal branding looks like to them, right? I think everybody has got a different flavor and meaning of what personal development means to them because we all have different goals. And some people who are in weightlifting might not have the same goals as I do, which is kind of like getting more into business and entrepreneurship, for an example, right? So I think it's super important that we understand that success doesn't look the same for everybody. That's number one. And I think uh, it is important that we build some sort of personal brand, whether it is just kind of like your loyalty and you being on time with your projects, reactive, responsive, communicating well, and investing time for you to be able to um, do those things, right? So I think that's uh, lesson number one. The biggest lesson that I found, right? And I have seen the effect of it, especially when I was doing a lot of content and work um, within the Do Better UX space um, versus the time I kind of laid off and focused a little bit more on client work, right? So, yeah, pick your battles depending on what you need to do. I think it's a balancing act at the end of the day. I think there are a lot of things that obviously you need to consider based on what time you have and what each of the things, kind of like doing direct client work versus, kind of like spending a little bit more time on side projects that are personal projects that you want to get out there. Um, or being part of teams as part of a startup founding team. Yeah, there's just so much, right, that you can consider to do with your time. But I think personal branding and personal development is a big piece that a lot of people out there, um, you watching this, should really consider and um, create priority, right? I think if anything, it might come ahead of some client work, right? Because I think putting yourself out there helps you get the work that you kind of like want to do, right? Because that's what you're projecting out, and that is what you kind of like receive back, and kind of old school believing vibes and stuff. Anyway, let me proceed to the second point that I want to talk about. And I don't know if I really want to tell you about this beer and the brand and stuff. I don't think it's relevant for this. But I think I want to start kind of bringing a different flavor of, because I'm really into craft beer, right? And other than being into craft beer, there's other things that are kind of like in the realm of flavor in my world, and I don't see why we shouldn't bring it here if you are into that as well. I won't talk too much about that because this is Do Better UX. At the end of the day, I will just highlight some cool things that I am doing. Maybe I'll do a different channel, do that on my personal channel thing or something like that. That'll be a lot more work to create a personal channel, but let me know if you're interested in something like that. Anyway, let me get to point number two. Point number two for me was, I would say, um, learning to say no. Uh, And not only that, but learning to say no at the right time. Now, what do I mean about that? Especially the part of at the right time. Well, I think as we network and get to find interesting work to work on, um, there are a lot of things that come at play, and and sometimes we just get caught up, right, in the work. And look, I think it's super interesting for a lot of people to be doing work that impacts the world, or work that's super interesting for them. Sorry, I'm just gonna clip this thing in. Work that's super interesting for them, right? And Sometimes it's so hard to kind of like just get into the realm of saying no at the right time, right? And I did this um, many, many times in my career, but yeah, it kind of like was a highlight for me over the past 6 months of this year, basically half of this year, um, where I kind of, overcommitted myself onto a lot of projects, and this was both in personal life and work life. Um, and I just got burnt out, right? Outright, you just cannot do so much. And when you get burnt out, you start considering kind of like different levels of what is you kind of think start thinking about priority, right? Kind of thinking, so what is priority to me right now, and what is it that I have to do with my time and my life, and kind of try not kind of deal with this burnout, right? So that is the point that I was at. And yeah, um, I want to say that there are many, many, many kind of like considerations that you want to have before you kind of take on work, um, especially if you are somebody who is trying to have a type of work-life balance, as they call it, right? I believe in the remote work culture. I believe in kind of like creating time for yourself, and doing the things and working on the things that you actually want to do and love doing, right? I believe in working on the projects and really meeting the people that you want to work with and working on those things, right? But at the end of the day, um, there are other things that come into play. You've got kind of like a business to run, you've got a family to feed, you've got a roof to keep over your head, basically. And depending on what is much more important to survival, it kind of knocks at your door when it comes to burnout, right? And then you kind of realize it that, okay, cool. I think I'm kind of biting more than stuff that I can chew here. And the issue comes because if you don't do it at the right time, if you do it at the right time, saying no is okay. If you wait until you have overcommitted and promised people stuff, then you break um, the trust that you basically have, right? Because you're gonna kind of say no in the middle of the way. So big lesson out there. I've done this a couple of times in my career, but I think this time around it had the most impact, not financially, not 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 in any significant kind of like way that would um, stop me from surviving and moving on, right? But in a way that it made me realize what the impact of this is to the people that I do business with, right? To my personal brand, etc., etc., right? Yes, am I going to recover from that and be able to move on and forgive myself on what happened? Yep, I think so. Um, is it something that you know, kind of like want to deal with again? No, I think not, and I think you should learn from kind of like my epiphany here, right? Um, yeah, so that's number two. Um, Number three, I think I'm gonna stop at number three with this kind of like lessons, and then I'm gonna talk about other stuff that I kind of like found interesting over the past week. Um, Number three, I think number three will really be somewhere along the lines of um, taking time, taking time to plan, project, and kind of like relook at the vision that you have um, to kind of help you refocus. So maybe I'll call this refocusing. So refocusing to me is something that I think is so important for a lot of people, especially if you watch this channel. I talk about a lot of career stuff, and I think refocusing within your career is something that is you need to be conscious of. That is something that you need to do. I think you need to be able to snap out of things, right? When kind of like drifting away in consciousness. Let me explain. So, most of the time when we're living our day to day lives, right, we kind of get into a state of unconsciousness because we're on autoplay, we're on autopilot, we kind of, do what we need to do, keep on going, we've got a task of things that we need to clear out. We forget about, eating, even going to the bathroom, and kind of hear people saying, yo, I've been in meetings the whole day. Can I, um, have a minute or two to go to the bathroom, and then I'll jump right back on. And I think there is this. I'm not saying putting in the work is a bad thing. I think if you are doing the thing that you want to do, is totally worth it putting in the work, right? I just think that you need to be conscious of not drifting away, right? And when I say not drifting away, I see my Mac is doing thumbs up here. I don't know. Is that what is happening here? Is this the chat? All right. Um, so you need to be conscious of not drifting away, right? And what not drifting away. I think whoever's chat watching is reacting. Anyway, let me keep going. So, not drifting away is really, remaining conscious of those things that you want to refocus on, right? So, one of the biggest things that you can ever do to yourself and your career is not kind of focusing on the ultimate goal that you're trying to get to, right? There are many things that can come in your way, and you can just kind of get caught up in doing day-to-day stuff and forget about your personal branding. You forget about doing the work that you love. You forget about looking after yourself, and all of these things come into play. So be conscious of that. Be conscious of what your goals are. Do quarterly goal planning, do weekly goal planning. you know some of us live in the world of sprints, but you can't live in the world of sprints your whole life, right? You kind of need to separate things and be able to grow different aspects at the same time, and basically multitask on the different areas that you want to focus on in your life. So I think that's the third point, right? So refocusing. I spoke about kind of like the burning bridges, learning when to say no at the right time. Um, Let me move on to much more lighter stuff now, right? I think also the music in the background is kind of like making everything grim for me. I don't know if you can hear that in the background, but I didn't have enough time to reconfigure everything that I have in the background to get to, kind of the optimal setup that I would like for my live stream, where I am, having the audio coming through a different set of sound. Um, but anyway, let me know if you can hear that. Let me know if it's distracting, if it's okay, if it's cool, if this is just a perfect setup. Um, I want to get a little bit more into news now. So I want to talk about a bunch of designer news, and obviously, being an Apple fan, I am going to start off with two major Apple highlights that I've seen this week, and I think I wanted to include in this version of the live stream slash podcast. We'll see how we're gonna chop and edit this. And the first thing that I want to talk about is the USB Pencil. Now, obviously, this is not the USB Apple Pencil. This is the Apple Pencil 2. I don't know what you call it, uh, third generation. But the USB Pencil just came out after the release of the iPhone 15 with the USB port, right? And now it has always been a weird case of how do you connect the current Gen 1 pencil to your iPad, to your 10-inch iPad. It came out with a little dongle and things like that. And it's kind of crazy. I actually follow a guy on LinkedIn who says he designed the new USB pencil, the new USB pencil. Now, the weird part is that they're calling this new. Apple calls everything new in some weird way, but it looks like the Apple Pencil 2, like this one that I have for my iPad Pro, and I think it's really leaning over the the transition of Apple getting into the Type C um, USB port, and they are really trying to do what Apple does best, which is kind of like probably it's a supply chain thing where they have a lot of probably these type of casings that they could modify and cut and make into something slightly different, and add the port in there instead of having the lightning connector where kind of like take out the cap. I haven't seen the pencil in person. I would really like to see kind of like if the cap doesn't totally slide off, so that we kind of like get rid of the idea of losing the caps, especially on the first generation Apple Pencil. But there are things that it doesn't have, and it does have, and only on certain models, which kind of makes it a weird device to take out. But if anything, I would put it on two things. I think big ups to them for kind of like reusing the materials that they already have in the supply chain, as well as finally transitioning to USB C. And now we can use the same cable for laptops, iPads, phones, pencils, except the weird mouse, and I guess the trackpads as well, and the keyboards are also not. I guess we'll be seeing some of those coming out soon, because the whole EU thing does not only impact the it doesn't only impact the iPhones, but also the rest of the devices as well. So that is the first story that I wanted to cover from Apple. If you are a designer out there who kind of like uses the iPad as their daily driver, like myself, and you like using the Apple Pencil, maybe you use a different type of iPad. I don't know if that Apple Pencil will work on the iPad Airs. I know probably not on the iPad Pros, but I think maybe on the 10th gen, kind of like baseline iPad, probably that is what that is designed for. I don't know if the pencil will stick on it. It should. I don't know. Anyway, moving on to the second news topic that I want to talk about today, still on Apple. Let me clear my throat a little bit. Um, the second thing that I want to talk about from Apple is we've seen probably about 4 months ago now, 3 months, when they released, or rather announced, the Apple Vision Pro. Yeah, Apple Vision Pro. Right. They announced the Apple Vision Pro. The design world went, it kind of like exploded. It's like, we've never seen VR before. There was all kind of like videos where, we saw people giving tutorials and demonstrations. A lot of Figma kits that came out. And yeah, there was just a lot of hype and buzz about it, right? Now that the device is actually in developers' hands, we've seen some reports from our, biggest reporter, Mark Gurman, Apple reporter that is, talking about the Apple Vision Pros being heavy on the head with just the developers right now. They say that there will be, kind of like straps, and also, Apple is also working on the Apple Vision Pro 2, when the first one has not been released yet. Yeah, there is quite a lot that's happening with this, and it'll be interesting to actually see when it will be released, and if it will still be just the Apple Vision Pro 2. I don't know what's happening with my camera. It's just kind of like throwing fireworks and things like that. But anyway, I will be enjoying the show. That's some of the updates that I think I am getting with the Apple updates, because I am also running the latest Mac OS, what, Syria? I don't know, Apple, whatever, the latest Mac OS that they have. So that's why you're probably seeing those gestures. Let me see if it does that. It's supposed to throw thumbs up and throw fireworks and things like that. Okay, it's not doing it now. Oh, there we go. There we go. There we go. Okay, so that is what's happening there. I'm sorry to have this on the live stream. Like I told you, technical difficulties. I haven't streamed in a while. Okay, cool. Let's proceed. Let's proceed. So the next thing that I want to talk about is, oh, let's go back to the Apple Pro conversation. So this thing is heavy, it's clunky, but I don't really care about kind of like the fit and finish. They'll probably working on this design. The developer versions are probably not the final things that we should be worrying about anyway. And I think that by the time it actually comes out, they would have improved on most of the weight issues and things like that. And the developer edition will not be really what the consumers will get. So that's my take on it, right? Because I think they're going to take out the Apple Vision Pro 2 instead, of the original one, and maybe they'll just call it, the Apple Vision Pro, right, without calling it 2. Anyhow, the biggest thing that I want to talk about is really the UI. Now, if you follow the world of VR and AR in any way, you know that the Meta Quest, I think there's like the Meta Quest Pro 3 or something like that, that also came out. Now, I think the whole world of VR, and now, there's just Apple fanboys and things like that out there, that kind of like, especially within the design world, right, that hype up all this stuff when it comes to um, the UI kits and all of that stuff, right? But I think Meta has been in this game way longer than Apple has been, right? And there are probably a lot more resources and developer kits out there for Meta versus what they have for Apple. Similar stance to what people have between Android and iOS devices, and software kits, and general design bias, right? Um, the new Meta Quest that has come out is, I would say, significantly very similar to what we have seen Apple trying to have within their Apple Vision Pro. And I'm really interested to see, kind of like what the use cases are, especially with like the crazy different price points. Now, Apple people will always be Apple people, and the rest of the world, will be the rest of the world. And yeah, I'm really interested to see what the adoption will look like. Obviously, the Quest Pro, and the other Quests, etc., etc. I don't really know if it's like the 2 or the 3. I think it's the 3. I don't know if it's like a Pro or whatever it is, but yeah, the latest one, right? Um, it's um, it's basically out there, and you know Apple is kind of playing catch up in this whole VR AR space. I think that they have been investing a lot of technology and kind of design energy in most of these products, and the technology within these products especially. But yeah, let's see what comes out of the live release. What I'm really interested to see is what are developers going to be using this headset for. Well, what have they designed for users rather, right? What is going to be the main use cases that they have designed for? Is it going to be for daily use or for gaming, similar to what we've seen with Meta? Or is it going to be, something totally different? I think the big sale with Apple Vision Pro was kind of like the immersiveness of watching content and things like that. And maybe it will really become a thing that will replace, home theater for lonely people who don't want to sit with, other people and share the screen with them. I don't know. You let me know in the comment section below. Let me know what you think about the use cases that we're gonna see people using this for, because it's going to be Apple. People are gonna buy this thing, but what are they actually gonna use it for? Is it just gonna be a gaming console, just like we've seen with the other stuff, playing Beat Saber, etc., etc.? So I think I've covered the main two Apple stories. Let me cover one more story, and I think we'll close off this live stream for today. I can feel my throat kind of being cracky by the minute. I haven't done this in a very long time, and I also have a little bit of a cough, as you have seen me kind of stepping away from the mic, trying to not cough in your faces. I'm sorry about that. Last thing that I want to talk about is AI and Adobe slash Figma. Now, was it this year when the whole Figma Adobe thing officially happened? I think it was this year. If it was not this year, it was somewhere on the tail end of 2022. I think a tail end of 2022 might be a little bit more accurate. And Figma was acquired by Adobe. We all know this. And in this acquiring, um, a lot of people had different um, comments, notions, ideas, and um, worries about where the company is going to go. Now, Adobe has been quite open about, kind of their AI training and how they are going to be basically kind of like scraping your work to get to train the AI, right? And a lot of big companies use actual real work to try and, well, not to try, to do real world production work, right? And a lot of companies use Figma too. Now, the problem is with Figma, now also getting into AI training, it is clearly training, using your data to train the AI model for specific features, but we don't know what these features are, right? And there's a big thing because is it just scanning your Figma files and training the AI data to create your work and eventually replace you? Is it literally like kind of like seeing what your actions are to creating these things and training the AI data? What is it really doing? What is it doing with your data? I think this is a big, big, big concern for a lot of people that are using Figma right now, including myself, especially when I am working on real life projects, especially my own startup projects where I apply, kind of like technique and skills that I have mastered over years and years of doing these things. It is a really worrying factor when companies start using the tools that we pay money for to train AI that will eventually, might replace us. Right now, I've always been positive about AI. I've always spoke about AI as um, a tool to augment the skills of a designer rather than replace them. Right. I think there's a lot of things that human beings can do better than machines can. And I think AI is exactly that. It's really just a tool that we can use to augment the skills of the designer or the person, the human, right? And I am pro AI, right? However, when we see companies like OpenAI and Adobe and Figma collaborating, right? I mean, companies like OpenAI, AI, we know them to kind of like not be totally 100% honest or open, and even some could say, ruthless on how they would, use your data and make their products better, only to kind of like replace you with better products, right? So yeah, um, I am super worried about that. And instead of me just talking about the worry that I have, I think there are other alternatives out there. I think in this space that we are moving in, where everything that's connected to the internet is kind of, regulated by the big brother company that drives that specific product. I think open source like open OBS that I'm using right now, right? Open source is really the way to go, because that way you can host it in your own server and things like that. And I think Penport right now is a really big contender when it comes to design software. Obviously, there's offline software that you can use like Sketch. You can just buy a license and kind of like work offline and not have to worry about AI features or anything kind of like crawling your data. But if you use something like Penport, you can host it in your own cloud, in your own server, and kind of like run it from there and not have to worry about kind of like AI and other things. And again, it's open source. If you're technical enough, you can kind of like switch on and switch on certain features. If you like some AI features but you don't want it to kind of like crawl your data or whatever it is, I'm sure in the future those type of things will be possible to do, right? So yeah, there is just so much when it comes to um, AI, that we knew that it would disrupt the world, but we didn't really know what the disruption would look like, right? So that's me. That's closing right there. Just some uh, chill session vibes, thoughts, insights. I think we'll turn some of this content into more short form content, as well as the podcast content, and maybe kind of like wrap this up in a blog post on dobetterux.com. So check out the website if you're interested in this type of content. That way you will stay informed of the latest podcast posts that we do. And hopefully in the near future we'll be talking about events and some of interesting guest um, conversations that we'll be having here. Cool. So from me to you, I hope you have a great one. I'm out.